I have just very barely started getting some purls in, and I'm still really on the fence about this. You can't really see much yet, but this is my next zipper sweater, and I knew that I didn't want to keep making these tractors every year. They were a challenge, really fun challenge, but hi! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Oline and I'm a knitter from Norway, and welcome to my knitting podcast. Here I talk about all things knitting, my current project, finished projects, sometimes planned projects, and sometimes yarn, just anything that pops into my head while I sit here and chat with you all. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me today. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about what I'm wearing, and today I'm wearing my first ever zipper sweater in honor of the new zipper sweater that I'm making myself. I made this in December of 22, I think, so this is coming up on 2 years old. It's not one of my most worn knits. As I'm wearing it right now, I can't quite put my finger on why, because I feel every time I wear this, it's very either I'm not happy with it or I really like it, and this time I really like it, so I don't know, but I haven't ended up using this a lot. It is a very warm sweater. It's definitely not a year-round sweater, so that definitely limits me using it a bit, but I have other sweaters that like that I use more. But yeah, it is a really great sweater. There just has been things about this that I haven't been 100% happy with. I do think that I could make some pretty quick changes to it and get a lot of more use out of it. So I really hope that this fall and winter I'll actually take the time to do that, because this is a really lovely sweater. It is super warm. It's in a color that I love. I love this half zip things, and also I love this because it matches the one that my fiance and son has. But for the yarn I used for this, I decided to knit mine in 2 strands of Flora and 1 strand of Kid Silk, and there isn't really a reason behind that choice. My aunt and my mom had a cafe where they also sold yarn, and as they were shutting down their cafe, they had a lot of yarn left over, and they had a lot of Nepal, which I used for the sweaters for my son and fiance, but they didn't have enough Nepal for a zipper sweater for myself as well. But they had a lot of Flora in this color. This is the jeans blue color. And they also had a lot of blue mohair, so I decided to pair them up, and I am quite happy with the color they made and the fabric they made, but in comparison this fabric is a lot looser and more like flowy than the fabric that the Nepal I knit with had for the zipper sweater, so it is definitely a bit of a different look and it's a bit different to wear. I don't know which I prefer right now. I think I'd say this, but I have been kind of fluctuating between what I have liked the most, and I think that's also a reason why this has not been that much used, because I don't know, I've been 100% happy with my yarn choice, and especially for the ribbing, I felt this ribbing on the sleeve, it actually isn't that bad, but the ribbing down here on the body I just feel is so uneven and not great looking. So I think for the sweater that I want to go back in, I also, a bit of the reason why I don't wear it a lot is I feel it is a bit like frumpy. It's just big and not that great fitting. Usually I like my sweaters to stop at about here, but this is really warm, so it's nice that it's longer. But I have been thinking about ripping out all of the ribbing for the sleeve as well, knitting the ribbing on a smaller sized needle so it looks a bit better, a bit cleaner. And also for the ribbing on the body, I think I'm going to do a split hem. I think for longer and more oversized sweaters that split hems look a lot better. I have that on my sweater number 14 and the Never sweater I made, and I really love those. So I'm going to try to make this with a split hem as well to see if I wear it more. And also, since this is my first zipper, the zipper part isn't that great. It bunches up here. I don't know if you can see that. It bunches up, and it's not my best work, so I also want this a bit strong because I don't want to do the zipper again. But I think I would be more happy with this and use it more, which I want to do, if I ripped the zipper out and did it again, which I think I should be able to just do it again. And yeah, I think that's also why I don't love this fabric, because since this fabric is a lot looser, not as stiff as the Nepal one, it is harder to sew in the zipper, because I don't pin down my zipper before I sew it in. I just sew it in as I go and hold it and pull a bit on the fabric as I do it. And with Nepal that works out, but for this one it didn't, and left me with this bulge here. But I hope that now that I've done more zippers, I've probably done 5 zippers at least since I've done this, so I should be able to get a better result now, hopefully. So that's also something I really want to do. But this is my zipper sweater. I am bringing it out of the closet now. Hopefully me wearing it and remembering it more makes it easier for me to go back and fix it, because I really do want to wear this more, even though I am making another zipper sweater now that is the zipper sweater light, and it probably won't be as warm. And this is also a surprisingly soft and lovely to wear sweater, for it also having mohair, so I would really love to be able to wear this more. So fingers crossed I actually get to this winter. I had plans for it last winter too, but it slipped my mind. I didn't get to it. But all that being said, let's get into the projects I've actually been working on this week. And this week I actually have done something on my wedding dress, so we'll start there. Nothing of what I've done I've been knitting, but I have, I think last week I did the part here where I turned the belt into an actual belt. I never remember what these are called. What are they called? Hooks and eyes, maybe. So it's a belt now. And then today actually I finally bought myself an iron. I have been thinking about that for quite some time. I feel like as a knitter I really should have one. Certain knitting projects just need like a steaming iron, I don't know what to call it in English, to bring out the structure better. So it's been something I've wanted, and especially for the wedding dress. So I got that today, and I have steam ironed or ironed, what you call it, this belt. The cables, as you can see, they get a bit flatter, but I think that's going to be good for a belt as this is. And I really wanted to do that before I started doing any of the pearls, because I can't iron it after I have the pearls on. And yeah, I'm happy with it. I did try it on after ironing and it still fits. It didn't grow any, which I'm also pleased with. I was a bit scared since it flattened out the cables that it would grow in length, but it didn't. And then I have just very barely started getting some pearls in, and I'm still really on the fence about this. I don't know if you can see, but I have this little trio of super tiny pearls here, just because this area where I stopped doing the cables was quite empty. And then I have these bigger ones here, every place like the cables meet, which I think I like this. But I'm not sure. I don't know if I think it's a bit too much, if I would want there to be smaller pearls, if I would want there to be something else. But just staring at this blankly without any pearls on it, I didn't know where to go. So I just had to start somewhere and get some pearls sewed on, and then I just have to go from there and see how that feels. And for every purl I continue to put on, my mind changes a bit. I have tried to play around with some other things as well, but I really can't make up my mind. But so far I think this is what I'm going to do for this, and it does look quite cute on camera now, at least. I am a bit worried that it takes a lot of attention away from there actually being cables there, but I think it's going to be okay, especially when you get it like throughout the whole thing. And then I'm going to do another little trio of purls here probably, where it's also quite empty. So that's what I'm thinking so far, at least. And then, as I was already ironing, I decided to iron some of the wedding dress a bit as well. I did not do anything on the skirt, as you probably can tell. That's really wrinkly because this is still on the needles. It has yarn attached. It's also huge, so I didn't want to get myself into that, but I did start on the top because the top is also what is probably going to get the most purls. If the skirt's going to get any, it's going to be very few. So I wanted to just have this iron so that I can dive straight in if I get any good ideas for how to place the purls. I don't know if I'm going to do the exact same thing on the straps here. That's, as you can see, it's the same design as the belt. I don't know if I'm going to do the exact same thing or if I'm going to put more of the purls on like the border outside the purls. I'm leaning more towards that, so there is a bit of a difference between these two. And so they kind of play with the cables a bit differently. I also don't know what I'm going to do down the cables down the back, if I'm going to continue what I've done here down here. I don't know, but I'll get there. But it was really nice to get to iron this, steam it. I don't know, I think it was a mix, and it turned the stitches. Oh, this is a bit heavy to move around, but I don't know if you can see, but it turned the stitches so wonderfully even. They just look so great now. I have not tried this on since I ironed it because I just did that. I am a bit nervous. I'm wondering a bit how that changed it, if it grew any or if it shrunk any with the stitches evening out and it being ironed. I don't know, so I need to try this on again sometime soon, but I think I'm going to go ahead and focus on doing some purls before I try it on again. But yeah, this is it. I also think that this is probably going to have maybe some clusters of pearls somewhere, but smaller throughout here. I don't know. I think I'm going to start with the straps and then go from there. Maybe fade out from the straps or something. I don't quite know. I have a vision, and then before I can really see what's in my vision, it kind of fades away from me. But I am glad to have ironed this and at least figured out that I don't have to wash it, because the stitches evened out just fine just by ironing, and that was also a relief to learn, because this is really big, so I really didn't want to wash it, and I was really afraid of it growing if I washed it. So now I know I won't have to do that, which is great. And the fact that I have gotten started doing some of this, I think that's going to be really helpful. I finally got that white sewing thread from my grandma yesterday, so I am closer to actually getting something done with it, but I need to put it in my schedule because it is very time consuming, and sewing is not what I think is the most fun part of knitting, so I need to figure out when to like block in time for that. But I am really happy and quite proud of myself for actually having started on it and gotten somewhere, and I don't know, I am on the fence about this, but I am leaning towards being really happy with how this is looking, and I have been really on the fence about the wedding dress since the last time I tried it on. I didn't feel great the last time I tried it on, but now that it's ironed and the stitches are evened out, I feel better about it again, which is great because it is a really huge project and it's a quite important project, so it's been quite stressful feeling on the fence about it and not being quite certain about how it's going to turn out, but I think I just have to keep going, and there's always going to be a bit of an awkward phase for any project, and I just have to get through that, which hopefully I'm going to do now, but that's enough of me rambling on about the wedding dress. My next oldest project is this, which unfortunately again has been completely abandoned. I have done nothing on this. I have one of these sleeves on a needle ready to go, but it just hasn't been prioritized in between all of the other projects I have been working on. I just have really wanted to work on other projects, and this is a really basic sweater for my son. If I didn't say, this is the chunky rib sweater by Jord.clothing. I'm knitting it in the size 4 to 5, which is a size bigger than my son is, so I'm not on any time of like time crunch. My son has other sweaters, both in his current size and in this size, so I'm not stressing about it. It's just a fun project. I love ribbing, I love raglan with double ribbing, it's great, but right now I've just been having other projects I want to work more on, so that's what I've done. But I really think that I'm going to come back to this week because I just have sleeves and a neckline left, and those go by quite quickly and they're not the most fun, but I think they can be great like evening projects probably, because I do really want to have this finished and able to be used, because I think, I don't know if I said this, but I think a ribbed sweater which really hugs the body will be great for winter to have underneath coats, so I want to get back to it, just haven't gotten there yet. And then my last active project, which is quite new, I don't know, it is just a couple of days old. I cast this on Tuesday, I think, really late on Tuesday, and you can't really see much yet, but this is my next zipper sweater, and what you can see here, you cast on, but you do this magic cast on, so half of my stitches are on hold for me to knit them down, and now I'm making this part here. I still have a couple of centimeters to go because you can see it is, let me try to show you, it is, if I fold it over, it is quite a bit shorter than this ribbing, and they're supposed to be the same length, so I think I have, last time I measured it was 12 centimeters, so it's probably like 13 or 14 now, so I have about 7 centimeters to go. And this ribbing, I've done a lot of ribbing in my life, but I've never done ribbing that moves so slow as the like neck ribbing for the zipper sweater, both for the zipper sweater, the regular one, and for the zipper sweater light in the male size, in the female pattern, in the toddler version, all of them. This ribbing takes so long, it takes longer than any body ribbing. It's actually insane, and I don't know exactly why that is. Probably because it is the start of the pattern and I'm really eager to move on into the German short rows and the increases, because those are my favorite part of any project. But I am trying to savor it. This yarn is super soft. It's the Drops Daisy. If I didn't say, I'm finally knitting with this Drops Daisy. It's been in my stash for about exactly a year now. It's my first meeting with Drops daisy when I got this, and it's been in my stash so long, and now I've made multiple other projects with drops daisy before I got to cast this on, but I finally cast it on, and I am really excited to get my own knit in drops daisy, only drops daisy, because it is really soft, so I'm really excited to wear it. And I spent a lot of my knitting time on this, just petting the ribbing, because if you stroke with the ribbing it's just so soft, and the ribbing makes it also so squishy. So I think that's also why this ribbing is taking so long, because I'm having regular squish breaks. So I am almost through my first skein, and my go-to rule for the zipper sweater ribbing is that when you're through your first skein you're almost there. But this is a project I am really excited about. I'm making mine in the size medium, and this is the zipper sweater light, if I didn't say. And hopefully next time we see each other I'll have done more. I have kind of dedicated the month of September to this. Of course, September came rather suddenly, and I think we're over halfway done with September now before I got started on it. But at least the reminder of September is dedicated to this, so I really hope I'll get it done in September. But there isn't a lot more to say about the zipper sweater. I haven't done that much. But those are my 3 active whips, and that's kind of exactly where I want to be with my whips. 1 smaller one, 1 bigger one, and my wedding dress. So that's exactly how I want it to be, and now I just have to finish the small one that's not that small anymore, so I can actually cast on a project that is smaller again. But let's talk about my finished knits, because I have also finished a couple of knits this week, and I am really excited about these finished knits, and I think you can see a really clear pattern. I am really obsessed with drops daisy lately. I have been knitting almost exclusively with drops daisy this last week, and the first project I finished, I think this is the first project I finished. The first project I finished is this, and I think I had just barely started on it last week, probably, just on the body down here, because this is a bottom-up sweater, which has been really fun to do again. That's what I grew up doing. That's also what I'm doing for the wedding dress, or I'm doing both bottom up and top down, because I started from the I-cord kind of in the middle, but bottom up is definitely what I've done the most, and it's also what I did when I designed my own things as a child, so it's really familiar to me. So it's been really nice to do it again, but following a pattern, and just every part of this was so much fun. Of course, I knit in drops daisy, which is a great yarn to knit in. It's great to feel, but it's also really great to knit with. It glides on the needles really well. It does not give me kind of like a burn on my finger as I knit, which some yarns can do. It's just all around really pleasant. So the stockinette part was great. Also getting this little red stripe in there, really fun. And then the stockinette just flew by. It honestly went by so quick, much quicker than I had thought. I thought this, especially since it is bottom up, would take me a bit longer, because historically with me knitting bottom up things, I fly through the body. I think that's super fun, because the body is one of my favorite things. It's just a lot of stockinette in the round. Love it. And then I move on to the first sleeve. That's okay. Sleeves are not my favorite, but I get through it. And then I get to my second sleeve and just, nope, I don't want to do it. And that has happened so many times on so many bottom up knits for me. when I do Marius sweaters, I do bottom up, and my grandma has helped me through a lot of sleeves for Marius sweaters because my motivation just disappears. It stays gone, it does not come back. But with this one, I just flew through it. I didn't feel a dip in my motivation at all. I think I was just really, really, really excited, eager, nervous, wanted to get it over with the color work for these tractors. So I got all of the stockinette just done, and then I got started on the yoke, which started with a lot of decreases, which I love. Decreases, stitches, the rounds go quicker. Also bottom up, the sleeve connecting here. That's usually a bit uncomfortable in the first few rounds, but decreasing a lot helps because then you have fewer stitches on the sleeves to kind of mess up your knitting. So that was really fun. The first few rounds were a bit difficult, but it got better really quickly, especially since it was a toddler-sized, not toddler, this is actually a child size, which is really weird. This to say now, this is size 6 years, so definitely not a toddler size anymore. I made this big on purpose because I knew that I didn't want to keep making these tractors every year. They were a challenge, really fun challenge, but also really stressful, and I don't want to do it every year, so I made it really big so he'll have it for really long. But I got to the tractors pretty late in the evening because I had done all of the other things before, and calling it evening is probably also a stretch. I think it was past midnight. But I told myself, okay, I'm just going to do one round of color work just to see how it is, because it starts with just the base color in grey and then you add in one of the color work colors. So okay, I'm just going to start, I'm just going to see how it goes. And then I kind of lost my mind because color work is really stressful and I think it's quite scary to do, but it's also really fun. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with color work because it is the scariest thing I do when it comes to knitting, at least the scariest thing I've done to date. But it's also maybe the most fun thing to do because you just change what color you knit with and all of a sudden you have a tractor on your sweater. That's so cool. So I just kept going and going, and then I got to do the round where you do both black and grey and red, which is three-stranded color work, which I've never done before. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to do one round of that before I go to bed just to see how that feels. And then I did that and it went okay. It was definitely a lot harder than two-stranded. Probably because it was my first time, and also it's a lot harder, more to keep track of. I had to wrap my arm more to catch the floats, so it took me a lot longer, and I thought, okay, this is okay, but I'm not going to be able to do three-stranded color work while I'm home alone with my son, so let's just get it out of the way before he wakes up. So I did that, and each round of three-stranded color work took me maybe 5 times as long as a regular round of color work. So I sat up throughout most of the night, I think. But after hours and hours of color work, after I said I was only going to do one round, I had finished over half the tractor, I think. I had gotten to this point. And when I woke up in the morning, I only had to do the red and grey color work, and then you start doing some decreases as well. So this part really flew by, even though it took me longer than regular rounds would take me. It's still color work, and I still had to wrap quite a few floats because the distances between the different colors are quite big on this one. But I got through that pretty quickly, and then I just had the last few decreases and then neckline, which is neck down, and then it was all done. except for like the part under the sleeves, which I literally did today, and these are still not woven in, but the sweater is done, and it took me less than a week. I think it took me half a week maybe, and it was really fun. I showed it to my fiance, and he immediately told me that he wanted one himself as well, and I want to give it to him. I think that would be really nice, but this in an adult male size is also, I can just imagine how long that's going to take me, but they would be really cute together, so it might be worth it. But this pattern does not go up any further in size than 8 years, so then I'd have to find a like regular round yoke and try to modify it myself, and I'm not super keen on trying to modify Colorwork. But here it is, and I also want to show my floats because I am quite proud of them. I try to catch them a lot. I've learned from my grandma that you should never have more than 3 stitches in between. I try to follow that. I think I did it. I think maybe there are some places where it's 4 stitches between I catch the floats, just to keep myself sane. But I am really happy with it, and hopefully my son won't kind of snag his fingers in here. I have made it so you shouldn't really be able to, because they are really next to the fabric, and the fabric also stretches like kind of well, so I am quite happy and proud of myself for this project, considering that I don't do color work on the regular. But yeah, my son unfortunately is not 100% sold on it. He does enjoy it, he really likes the tractors, but he would, I think sometimes at least, he would prefer them to be a different color. He changes his favorite tractor like multiple times a day, and he doesn't quite understand why the color on the tractor on the sweater can't just change with his favorite tractor changing. So that's also one of the reasons why I want to make one for my fiance, because I think if they had matching ones, my son would be less on the fence about this one. But yeah, this is it, and it is still huge. It reaches almost to my son's knees, so even though he's a bit on the fence about it now, he has a lot of time to start liking it and like reconsider his feelings. But yeah, that's the tractor sweater, and I am so proud. It's probably one of my favorite makes ever, and it probably is my favorite make ever when it comes to things I've made for my son. And then the last thing I knit this week is these really tiny cute pants. These are the chunky rib pants by Jord.clothing, in the same series as this, but this is in the smaller size. This is 0 to 6 months, and I knit these because I had exactly 100 grams of Drops Daisy left over after my levitate wrap, and I'm trying to stash just a little bit, and especially my scraps. And I know from experience, if I just let my scraps re-enter my stash, it makes it so much easier to get them out again. Usually when I knit something, all throughout me knitting my project, I'll think about what to do with the scraps, and if I do it right away, great. If not, it goes back into my stash, I forget about my plans, the scraps stay. So I wanted to just do this immediately, and it turned out so cute. It also helps that this is again Drops Daisy, if I didn't say. It helps that Drops Daisy is a great yarn to work with. Small sizes are really fun, and these pants are also really great. I just made these pants for my son in the size 4 to 5 years, and there is a big difference in knitting pant legs in size 0 to 6 months and 4 to 5 years. This was much more pleasurable. It was great. I had a lot of fun. It just flew by, and I yeah, I love this color. I decided to do an I-cord for this, both to stash bust a bit more and also because for the smaller sizes I prefer I-cord, and for the bigger sizes I do what's it called, an elastic in the waistband, but that's just my preference. I also think it's a bit cuter for the smaller ones with the I-cord, and I'm really happy about this because it used up every single last bit of drop stacey in this color in my stash, or I had a little bit left which I made a swatch with because I wanted to wash drop stacey in the washing machine. When I did my levitate wrap, I washed that in the washing machine and that had felted a little bit some places, not in the general fabric but some places on the double knitting it had felted just a bit, which I have never experienced before. So I thought it might be drop stacey that felted a lot, and as you have heard now and seen, I have knit a lot in drop stacey lately, so I really wanted to figure out if it really is drop stacey that felts in the washing machine, because I wash all of my knits in the washing machine. I also, after talking about the levitate wrap, heard from a lot of you as it had felted on spin cycles or when wearing it even, so I wanted to really put it to the test with my levitate wrap. I knit that with drop stacey and kid silk and on quite a large gauge, a loose gauge, so I didn't know if it was drop stacey that made it felt, if it was the loose gauge that made it felt, if it was the combination of drop stacey and kid silk that made it felt. So I wanted to do a bit of a science experiment. I'm not quite done because I have only tested one thing, but I did make a swatch with drop stacey on 4mm needles because that is what I use the most, and this is that swatch, and this used up every single last bit of that leftover I had after the levitate wrap and the, oh, I'm really struggling to remember everything now, levitate wrap and the chunky rib pants. This used up everything, and then I have actually washed this, and as you can see it survived. This is not felted, you can see it can stretch in every direction. So drop stacey on its own for me did not felt in the washing machine because I washed this on the washing machine on the regular wool program with the regular wool detergent that I use, and it survived. Nothing is felted, not the loose strands, they are not felted, the fabric is not felted. So for 4mm drop stacey without mohair, I can at least say that does not felt in my washing machine. So I am probably safe to wash all of these knits in the washing machine, probably not together. And I'm still a bit on the fence about the tractor sweater because I can't handle this felting. So I think I'm probably going to start with this and see if a garment also survives the washing machine, and if that survives then I'll do this. That's probably how I'm going to do it. I'm also a bit afraid of the color bleeding on this anyway, so I might wash it by hand so I can wash it with vinegar in the water, or how you do it with vinegar. I don't know if you give it a vinegar bath first or at the same time, but I might hand wash that the first time anyway. But this I'm probably going to chance washing this since it is a scrap yarn project. I am willing to kind of sacrifice this to really put drop stacey to the test in the washing machine, but as of right now it looks like I can wash drop stacey in the washing machine, and that I was just a bit unlucky with it with the levitate wrap. I do want to knit with drop stacey alone on a larger gauge and check that, and also drop stacey with kid silk to see how that holds up. But yeah, that is how far I've gotten with my science project as of right now, and that's also everything I have done this week. I've also organized a little bit more here. I've put all of my yarn for my fall plants here, so I can look at that. That's pretty in front and center, which I love. And then I've put the yarn for my sweater number 20 here. And my friend also just sent me a text, I think yesterday, saying that she just had to finish the last like neckline on a sweater that she's making herself, and then she's ready to start. So that might be a project I start pretty soon as well. But that's going to be a really slow knit along with my friend, where we just knit on it a bit here and there at the same time as our other projects, I think, because she, like me, has a lot of projects she wants to make all at the same time. But yeah, now I'm going to find my needle so we can weave in a couple of ends. Okay, got my needle. I think I'm going to start weaving in the ends on this, because it's the one I've already started a bit on this, and it's the one I am the most eager to have finished. And I don't know how much time I'll have to weave in ends now, because I have an impatient toddler wanting to come home soon, I think. So I'm just going to get as much done as possible before I'll have to go and pick him up. But yeah, I am really unsure how I'm going to weave in these ends on the Colorwork, but I'll just have to try, I think. But I thought I'd use this time to try to figure out what the next thing I'm going to cast on is. I have spent the last little while knitting a lot for my son. It's been really fun. I love knitting for him. And I think I want to continue, but I don't know if I also want to do something else. Of course, I am already knitting quite a lot for myself, and I have more plans to do that, just depending on when my friend is ready to knit her sweater. So that's definitely not something I'm going to plan to do more of now, but I might do more for my son. But I'm also itching to do baby knits. I love doing baby knits, and I've done a lot less baby knits this year than the last couple of years. I've had less friends have babies this year than I did last year. Last year I also had my twin cousins, and this year it's just been fewer, but I still want to do baby knits. And one of the big pluses of doing baby knits when you don't have any to give them away to is that you can build up kind of a chest of gifts or drawer of gifts like I have, and then you don't have to stress if you find out about someone having a baby and you want to gift them something like this one. So I might want to have a little period with baby knits, but also it's fall and I have a lot of knitting plans for my son, so I don't quite know. I do kind of want to just jump directly from doing this Colorwork sweater and into doing the Marius sweater that I recently got the rest of the yarn I need to do that, because I'm doing the Marius sweater. I don't have the yarn here right now with me, but I am doing, let's see, no, it's not anywhere near. I am doing the Marius sweater with Sandnes Garn merino wool in the original colors, navy blue, red and white, which I am really excited about, especially now since doing this Colorwork project. And yeah, Colorwork for me is really fall coded. It's something that I would love to do more of this fall, and it's one of the areas of I knit a lot within my comfort zone, and Colorwork is one of the areas I wanted to challenge myself more this fall, and I've already done this, which has been great, but I want to keep challenging myself. And I think I have done the Marius a good few times, so it's not super challenging, but it would be a nice way to go from here, I think. But I also have other projects for my son that I also want to get to. For example, making him a Friday sweater. I like to have Friday sweaters in every size, and right now he does not have one in his current size. So I want to get to that. That's almost like color work, but I don't really count stripes as color work. I don't think stripes is really color work, to be honest. I don't think it is. But I can't really make up my mind what I want to do the most. If I want to do Friday sweater the most, if I want to do color work the most, if I want to do baby knits the most. I kind of just want to do everything the most, and I have to choose, which is really difficult to do when you want to do everything. And I also have the yarn. If I didn't have the yarn for it, that would kind of choose for me, but I have the yarn for the Friday sweater, I have the yarn for the Marius sweater, I have the yarn for probably at least 10 baby knits. So I don't know where to go from here. I also, now we're in September and this month is dedicated. My big project is going to be the zipper sweater, but as we're nearing October, I also have to start thinking about the Melange sweater that I'm making my fiance for his birthday early in November. I have to start on that soon. But I don't think I'm going to start on that now, because I also want to be able, I don't quite know, I kind of want to be able to make it without him knowing. I have talked a bit to him about it, so I know that it's a sweater that he wants, but it would be cool if I was able to knit it and kind of surprise him with me having made it. So he knows I'm going to make it, and he knows I've gotten yarn for it, but that without him knowing, I'll have actually finished it. I did that with one of the zipper sweaters. The first zipper sweater I gifted him, but it was quite hard to knit him something without him realizing, since we are together most of the time and I'm at home most of the time, so it's quite hard to hide a project for him, especially such a large project and time-consuming project. But it would be really fun if I was able to do it. So I don't know, that's my goal, but as I said, probably not going to start on it now, because that just makes then I'll just have to hide it for longer. But yeah, I am leaning towards continuing making sweaters for my son, but I don't know which. I have the Alfred sweater, the Friday sweater, I have yarn for a cardigan that I'm probably going to make closer to Christmas, the Marius sweater, and I think that's pretty much it. So out of those 4 sweaters, I think it was, I don't know which to do first. And then I have some other projects here as well, like this one. It would be fun to figure out what to do with that one, but yeah, I don't quite know. Also, maybe I should start on Christmas gifts. That might also be a good idea, but I don't know where I am going from here. So this is just me babbling, trying to figure that out. Also the penny socks, which I want to do, that might be a great idea to do actually, but those are going to be a long-term whip, so I want something else on top of that as well, so I can do the penny socks, but that I'll also have like a fun, quicker small knit. But the penny socks is definitely also a good contender. But as you can probably hear, I can't make my mind up. If you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. And this is probably going to be my last end before I stop. And yeah, I love Italian cast on, but for sweaters, knit bottom up, Italian bind off is not that fun because you have to kind of sew the edge shut, which is okay when you knit top down because then it's only one. But when I knit bottom up, it's so many. Here I can try to show you what I mean. When I cast on with Italian cast on, it kind of makes this split, which I have to then sew shut, and I have to do that for both the sleeves and the body, and also the sleeves also have the red because of the stripe. But now I only have 5 more ends to weave in, and I'm going to stop there because I've spent so long doing this now. But I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, please leave a like and a comment, and if you want to see more from me, please subscribe. Bye!